Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video lecture. In the earlier session, we discussed about some of the core aspects related to Accounting Standard 11, which deals with accounting for the effects of changes in the foreign exchange rates, and when there are any changes in the foreign exchange rates, what kind of impact it will show on the financial statements, and how the foreign currency transactions have to be basically recorded initially. Naturally, they should be recorded at the rate that is prevailing on the date of transaction. But after the initial recognition, at the end of each balance sheet period, monetary items have to be reported at closing rate and non-monetary items have to be reported at the same rate which was prevailing on the date of transaction on which these non-monetary assets or liabilities have been acquired or incurred. Of course, if there is any revaluation of non-monetary items, then the rate prevailing on the date of such revaluation has to be considered. For contingent liabilities and all, closing rate only will be considered. This is the reporting of financial items which have been incurred or which have been entered into as transactions during the year in foreign currency, and how to report them at the end of the period. We have discussed this in the earlier session in detail. And when we talk about the monetary items particularly, because there will be a difference between the rate which prevailed on the date of transaction and the rate which is the closing rate which will be prevailing on the date of preparation of balance sheet or closure of the books of accounts, how to treat that difference. Normally speaking, that difference will be either debited to or credited to the profit and loss account as income or expenditure as the case may be. But in some cases, if such liability has been incurred for the purpose of acquiring any depreciable asset, then the difference that is arising because of the exchange rates being completely different from the date of transaction and the date of reporting of balance sheet, such difference can be added to the or deducted from the cost of asset itself. That is one alternative treatment which the organizations can choose, particularly when the liability in the form of long-term foreign currency monetary liability which was incurred for the purpose of acquiring depreciable assets. Then the difference in the foreign currency item can be added to or deducted from such depreciable asset itself. Or alternatively, that difference can be even accumulated in the foreign currency monetary item translation difference FCMITD account, and that FCMITD account will be amortized over the balance period for which such long-term asset or liability will be prevailing. And amortization basically as usual means either it is debited to or credited to the P&L account in the entire period during which that FCMITD account is existing. Of course, any one of the options can be chosen by the organizations, that is according to their choice. But this capitalization of exchange difference to the assets is possible only when the liability is incurred to the extent it is related to acquisition of depreciable assets. And this FCMITD account, if it is there, shall be shown under the reserves and surplus under the shareholders funds on the equity and liability side of balance sheet. But of course, for all the other items, the simple treatment is whatever the exchange difference is prevailing, that will be either debited to or credited to the profit and loss account, treating it as expenditure or as income as the case may be. And coming to the forward exchange contracts, if at all they are incurred for non-speculative purposes, then whatever the premium or discount that is there in that forward exchange contract has to be amortized over the life of that contract. Usually the forward exchange contracts will be maximum for a period of 3 to 6 months, not more than that in real life. So during that period, the premium or discount on that forward exchange contract has to be amortized. If there is a cancellation or renewal of the contract, profit or loss arising from that also has to be treated as income or expenditure. But on the other side, if the forward exchange contract has been entered into for speculative purposes, not to hedge any underlying risk, instead to make profit from the foreign currency fluctuations forward exchange contracts can be used as speculative instruments also, buying and selling them only for making profit out of it. Of course, whether profit will come out of it, loss will come out of it, that depends upon how the actual exchange rates moved in the real life. But the intention is here, if speculative, then the premium or discount at the time of entering into the contract should be ignored, but the unrealized profit or loss resulting from marking the forward exchange contract to the market price at each balance sheet date has to be recognized as income or expenditure as usual. And finally, when the settlement happens, if there is any profit or loss out of that, that has to be recognized also as income or expenses of that period. So any gain or loss is recognized through P&L account only in all the cases, but only point is whether the premium or discount is recognized at the time of entering into the contract or not. In case of non-speculative contracts, it is recognized. In case of speculative contracts, it is not recognized. So how do we know whether it is speculative or non-speculative? That depends upon the facts that are given in the question. So these are the various aspects majorly related to accounting standard 11, particularly as far as they are applicable to solving of problems also. Now let us move on to solving some of the questions related to this standard, that is AS 11, starting with question number 1. Kaleem Limited borrowed, you have to read the questions carefully, particularly about currencies. Which currency the amount is denominated in, you have to read it very carefully. So this company Kaleem Limited has borrowed $450,000 on 1/1/2016, which will be repaid as on 31st July 2016. So this loan, whatever they have borrowed, is looking like for a period of 7 months. Can we call it a long term and all? No, definitely not. So can we bring in FC, MITD and all those big things? Not necessary, because it is not a long term item. It is a reasonably short term item. But whatever the profit or loss resulting from the exchange rate differences, that should be definitely recognized through profit and loss account. But Kaleem Limited prepares financial statements ending on 31st March 2016. Rate of exchange between the reporting currency and foreign currency, that is USD, on different dates are given as follows. On 1/1/2016, $1 was 48 rupees. On 31st March, that is the reporting date, $1 became 49 rupees. And when the settlement actually happened, that is on 31st July 2016, $1 was 49.5. The point is, how are we going to record these transactions in the books of accounts of Kaleem Limited according to accounting standard 11? So we have to just keep on remembering this one fact, that when a transaction is entered into, when this transaction of a loan, that is a transaction, that is a foreign currency transaction for sure, because it is a loan that was borrowed by Kaleem Limited. When that is entered into, it should be recorded in the books of accounts at the rate that is prevailing on the date of transaction for sure. So the journal entries have to be like this on different dates. In main exam, journal entry always should have narration. Nobody needs to separately tell that. So on 1/1/2016, on that date, what entry has to be passed? Of course, when we borrowed money, we get money inside. So bank account at R or cash account at R, whatever it is. Let us say bank account at R to loan account, let us call it loan account, because that is a loan that was taken. So that is the entry. But the question is amount. $450,000 multiplied with 48 rupees. That means how much? 2 crores 16 lakhs rupees. Amount in dollars was 4,50,000, but amount in rupees is 2 crores 16 lakhs rupees. Or alternatively, you can even write all the rupees in lakhs. If all amounts of journal entries are rupees in lakhs, it will become 216 lakhs. So 216 lakhs, 216 lakhs. This is the entry for taking the loan in foreign currency, bank account at R to loan account, on the date when such loan has been taken. Now, the date has come on which you have to close the books of accounts, that is 31st March 2016. So on 31st March 2016, what should we do? According to accounting standard 11, what has to be done? First of all, what kind of item this is? This is a monetary item for sure. So what should be the thing? We should present it in the balance sheet at closing rate. And what is the closing rate? That is 49 rupees. In other words, the actual value of the loan that we show on the liability side of the balance sheet should be 4,50,000 into 49. That will be 2 crores 20 lakhs 50,000. So it should be 220.5. Whereas already the loan account here is only 216. That means what? Definitely because of this exchange rate fluctuation, there is a loss of 4.5 lakhs. Naturally, you can see that also. 1 rupee difference is there. $4,50,000 into 1. That means 4.5 lakhs loss has happened. But we don't directly debit P&L account for entries. Definitely one point for sure is loan account has to be increased by 4.5 lakhs. That is credit. Credit guaranteed. That is 4.5 lakhs. But debit to be given to what? Of course, net effect is that it will go to P&L account. It will be charged to P&L account. Since FCMI, TDA and all are not going to be applicable since it is not a very long-term loan. So, for understanding purposes, let us call this as exchange loss account or exchange difference account, whatever the name you can give. That is 4.5 lakhs. And then what happens on the same date? That exchange loss will be charged off to profit and loss account. So profit and loss account at our 4.5 lakhs to exchange loss account 4.5 lakhs. So that is the net impact of the exchange difference that has been taken into account on 31st March 2016. Net impact is simple. That is P&L account is finally debited with 4.5 lakhs as a loss. Credit happened to loan account which has been now restated at 220.5 lakhs because that is the closing rate on 31st March 2016. So that happens on 31st March 2016. These are the entries. When we say entries to be passed, we have to write all the entries. Directly you cannot debit P&L account. It's okay. Impact is the same. But better to have a normal transactional level entry first. Then transferring that to P&L account will be better. Let us say, just for example, depreciation has to be charged. It will be finally debited to P&L account only. So should we say that depreciation account debtor to asset account, or should we say P&L account debtor to asset account? First one will be better. Then depreciation can be transferred to P&L account by a separate entry. So it's always better to split this entry into two parts rather than writing it as a single one entry. That's a suggestible presentation. Then this happened and year ended, that is finished. Then next date is the settlement date. Settlement date is 31st July 2016. On that settlement date, what happens? On that settlement date, what happened? Definitely the exchange rate further has moved up to how much? 49.5. So further there is a loss of how much? 0.5 rupees per dollar, which means 2,25,000 rupees. So we can write once again, first one entry like this. Exchange loss once again happened on that date, which is a real exchange loss or exchange difference, you can call it. Either way it's okay. Exchange difference account at our 2.25 lakhs, which is nothing but half of 4.5 lakhs, to loan account. Same entry ultimately. Amount is 2.25 lakhs. Now, loan account has to be repaid. It is not mentioned that, but naturally once the due date is there, it is supposed to be repaid. How much loan account will be repaid in rupee terms? In dollar terms, loan is still 4.5 lakhs dollars only. But in rupee terms, how much loan has to be repaid? 216 originally, plus 4.5 credited because of exchange difference, plus 2.25 credited because of further exchange difference. So on 31st March 2016, how much loan account will be repaid in rupee terms is going to be 222.75 lakhs. Naturally, when you repay, bank account is credited with the same amount, 222.75 lakhs. That is loan account which is repaid, 222.75 lakhs. Originally when we took it, it was 216 lakhs only. So why we had to repay more now? Because there is a 6.75 lakhs of exchange difference since the date we took the loan and till the settlement happened. Because in between a financial reporting period of 31st March 2016 is there, exchange loss was recognized in that year itself according to the closing rate that was prevailing on the date of reporting as per AS11. Now, what happens to this exchange loss? You can say 31st July itself, or you can even say, because this is a final accounts entry, on 31st March 2017, which is the closing of next year, then the exchange loss will be transferred to P&L account naturally. How much was the exchange loss? 2.25 lakhs to exchange loss account, 2.25 lakhs. That will be the closure of exchange loss account or exchange difference account, which has been transferred to or debited to P&L account. You can do this on 31st July itself, nothing wrong in that, but again, to be technically correct, usually the closing entries of P&L and all will be done at the end of the year. So better to use 31st March 2017, which will be the closing of accounts for the next year. In that year, the exchange loss from this transaction was 2.25 lakhs that has been transferred to P&L account. That's it. These are the various entries that should be passed, and these type of questions can very well be asked for 5 marks. When such a small question, actually it is not a big question, but when such a small question is asked for 5 marks, you have to once again present the things very carefully, because just by writing some entries without narration, definitely you will not get full marks. Narration should be there, and not only the narration to the journal entries, but also you have to write the provisions of accounting standard 11 also, and this presentation applies to any accounting standard. Whenever we are applying any particular provision of that accounting standard, even with a small 2-3 lines also no problem, but you should refer to the accounting standard number and what provision from that standard you are applying here. Here what did we apply? First of all, this is a monetary item, and when the monetary item has to be reported at the reporting date, it has to be reported at closing rate. And when there is any difference between the exchange rate on the date of transaction and the exchange rate on the reporting date, such a difference has to be treated as income or expenditure of that year as per accounting standard 11. That's what we did. And same way, when the transaction is actually settled, that is a real exchange loss. Of course, in this 4.5 lakhs was not real exchange loss, that was a unrealized exchange loss, but still according to accounting standard 11, we charged off to P&L account. 2.25 lakhs is a real exchange loss because that really happened on that day, and that is a realized. But one point again we have to understand from technical conceptual point, the 4.5 lakhs which we already recognized in the financial year 2015-16 was unrealized then. It got realized, right? When the amount is actually settled, that 4.5 lakhs also got realized. That is the reason why we have a total realized actual exchange loss of 6.75 lakhs. The only point is reporting. When are we recognizing it? Out of this 6.75, 4.5 is recognized in 2015-16, 2.25 is recognized in the financial year 2016-17. That is the only difference where we applied the accounting standard 11. But ultimately the loss is very evident. Loss really will be what? Always the loss arising from the exchange differences according to the rates prevailing on the date of transaction and the date of settlement. That is a realized loss, which is 6.75. In that, 4.5 was related to 2015-16, though at that date we don't know whether it is realized or unrealized. Naturally that will be unrealized at that date. We don't know on 31st March 2016 what happens to the price of US dollar and rupee on 31st July. We don't know that. So at that date, according to accounting standard 11, we treated. We recognized 4.5 as loss. Okay, just for understanding purposes. Let us say what would have happened later between March and between April and July. The rate, instead of becoming 49.5, let us say it has become 48.5. Then what happens? Then we have to recognize a gain there, because we already recognized a loss of 4.5 lakhs which was unrealized, Out of that, really how much loss has come up? Only 2.25. That means the remaining 2.25 lakhs profit has to be recognized in that case during the financial year 16-17. But settlement ultimately will be done at 49.5 only. So realized actual loss will be always between the date of transaction and the date of settlement. What is coming in between is the reporting date. And according to Accounting Standard 11, we have to take that into consideration, and we have to also recognize income or expenses according to the difference between these two rates also. That is what Accounting Standard 11 says, and we have to follow that. So when different rates are given in the question, we should understand the transaction very correctly, clearly, and whatever the requirement of the question is, we have to fulfill that by referring to particular provision in the accounting standard. That is one of the examples or practice questions we can say from this standard. Now look at another question, question number 2. Opportunity Limited purchased an equipment. Equipment is definitely a depreciable capital asset for 24 lakhs rupees. Read this once again. It is not dollars. It is rupees 24 lakhs. Okay. On 1/4/2015, and the same was fully financed by a foreign currency loan, which is a US dollars loan payable in 4 annual equal installments. Exchange rates were like this: $1 was 60 rupees and $1 was 62.5 rupees as on 1/4/2015 and 31st March 2016 respectively. First installment was paid on 31st March 2016. The entire difference in the foreign exchange has been capitalized. Very clearly given. So we don't need to do any assumptions and all. When it is clearly given, the exchange difference is capitalized. Do the organizations have that choice or not? Of course they have, according to Accounting Standard 11 and notifications given by a Ministry of Corporate Affairs, as well as further clarifications given. Option is given to the companies for capitalizing the exchange difference to the depreciable assets. They can do that. You are required to state how these transactions would be accounted for. Already he is saying that difference in foreign exchange rate has been capitalized. How it has to be accounted for is nothing but capitalized only. So first of all, when the equipment is purchased, definitely entry would be written equipment account at or plant and machinery account at or fixed asset account at or PPE account at or whatever you call it. So whatever that asset account at to bank, the amount was already given in rupees only. So 24 lakhs is what that asset was purchased for. But the point is, this asset was not purchased with our money, it was purchased with loan amount. So we received a loan on that date. Maybe you can pass this entry first and then use that money. Doesn't matter. Money coming in and going out. So bank account at R2, loan account. This loan is in US dollars, but still in rupee terms, the loan will be also 24 lakhs. How much is the loan amount in dollars? It was not given. That we should find out. We can find that out. So 24 lakhs rupees, if it is the amount, how much will be in dollars? On that date, 1/4/2015, which is the date of this purchase and taking the loan, that transaction 1/4/2015, the dollar rate was 60 rupees. So when we say 24 lakhs rupees, that is, and each dollar is 60 rupees, that amounts to how many dollars? That is $40,000. That is a $40,000 loan that was taken, which is a monetary item. Loan is a monetary item. But the point is, on 31st March 2016, the dollar has become 62.5 rupees instead of 60 rupees. So how much is the loss? Here also loss happened. How much is that loss? The loss is $40,000. Each dollar is having a loss of 2.5, because from 62.5 it has become. Why it is a loss for this particular company? Because it has a payable. Imagine if the same company had a receivable, then it would be gain. Gain or loss depends upon what is the situation of the company, and of course how the exchange rates are moving. So 60 rupees on 1st April 2015, on 31st March 2016 it became 62.5, means, okay, for understanding purposes we can say the rupee has depreciated, dollar has appreciated, Because of that, the same dollars 40,000 which were earlier valued at 24 lakhs now will be valued at 25 lakhs. Naturally, 62.5 into $40,000 is 25 lakhs. That means how much is the loss now because of that? 2.5 rupees per dollar was the difference. That means 1 lakh rupees is the exchange difference, we can call it. In this particular case, it is loss. The question is about this exchange difference, how to treat. Earlier, we have treated that exchange difference or loss as income or expenditure and charged off to P&L. That was the choice also there for the organization, because this was nothing to do with acquisition of any depreciable asset. It was not. So here there were only two choices in the first scenario. First possibility is P&L account, second possibility is FCMI TDI account. But here there is a possibility of capitalizing it also, a possibility of charging it off to P&L account also, and even a possibility of transferring to FCMI TDI is also there, because it is not just 1 year loan, it is 4 equal annual installments. 3 choices are there for Opportunity Limited. 1 lakh rupees can be charged off to P&L as loss, or 1 lakh rupees can be added to fixed assets, or 1 lakh rupees can be debited to FCMI TD account and amortized over the period of 4 years, 25,000 each, like that. But definitely one point for sure is, this 1 lakh has been decided to be capitalized by this company. When it is given, you don't have to do any assumptions and create some imaginary situations. Given very clearly, entire difference in foreign exchange has been capitalized. When we say it is capitalized, definitely the debit here is going to be given to fixed assets account only, that is 1 lakh rupees, to loan, of course, which is going to be increased now by 1 lakh rupees. So loan became 25 lakhs. Fixed assets also became 25 lakhs. Now onwards, fixed assets will be depreciated not on their original cost of 24 lakhs, but on the now revised value of 25 lakhs. We are not given about all those things, but just for understanding purposes, because it is only asked that how these transactions would be accounted for, open-ended question. Imagining this fixed assets are also having the same life of 4 years. Originally, first year, fixed assets would have been depreciated by 6 lakhs rupees, 4 years, 24 lakhs divided by 4. So first year depreciation would have been provided. So 24 lakhs minus 6 lakhs. So book value of the fixed assets at the end of the year will be 18 lakhs. Or maybe you can even think about, yeah, it's a full year. First beginning of the year only the asset was purchased. So full year. So 18 lakhs is the value of the fixed assets. Now what happened? 1 lakh rupees is added to that. 19 lakhs has to be depreciated over a period of remaining 3 years. That means for the upcoming 3 years, depreciation amount will not be 6 lakhs rupees. It will be rather 6 lakhs 33,333 rupees. Like this, whenever there is a change in the exchange rates, because of which a monetary items amount is either increasing or decreasing, then such increase or decrease can be adjusted with the cost of fixed asset, and depreciation charge on that fixed asset will be also accordingly changed. Like that, you can write about this option, or even you can write that also, because the other options are there, how these transactions would be accounted for. Alternatively, if the company has not chosen to capitalize this exchange loss, then it could have debited to the P&L account also this loss in the year at the time of preparation of its financial statements. Because once again, it is a monetary item. Monetary item, there was a clear chance of charging of the exchange gain or loss to the profit and loss account. This fixed assets capitalization is a choice. FCMI TDI is also a choice. But charging to P&L account is basic treatment. For anything, basic treatment is that. If nothing is mentioned, always any exchange loss, any exchange gain will be either debited to or credited to P&L account, simple. But if the organization chooses to capitalize it, because related to fixed assets, this monetary item of loan has arisen, then it is a different story. Then we have to treat accordingly. Or alternatively, if there is no fixed asset and all, but just there is a loan only, then organization has once again two choices. Either it can once again debit it to P&L if it is a loss, or it can debit to FCMITD account, or alternatively it can credit the P&L also, credit the FCMITD account also, depending upon the changes. See, whenever we say exchange differences, that could be gain also, loss also, common sense has to prevail while calculating whether a particular item is a gain or loss. And we have to always look from the organization's point of view, which has entered into this foreign currency transaction, not from international point of view or not from some other party point of view. Naturally, for this particular organization, there is an exchange loss because the liability has increased in rupee terms. Though the liability in dollar terms is still 40,000 rupees only, $40,000 only. But in rupee terms, earlier it was 24 lakhs, now it has become 25 lakhs. That 25 lakhs definitely has to be credited to loan account. There is no doubt in that. Nobody has any question in that. Question is about debit where? Debit three choices: P&L account, or fixed asset account, or FCMITD account. Since the organization has chosen to capitalize it, we have debited to fixed asset account. That's it. That is the application of various provisions of Accounting Standard 11 in accounting purposes. Now, a similar question is given. Say, Rao Limited purchased a plant for $1 lakh rupees on 1st February 2016, payable after 3 months. There is no separate loan, but along with plant itself, loan also came. There is a payable. That is also a monetary item. So, company entered into a forward contract. Okay. So, this is not related to basic exchange differences. This is related to forward contract for 3 months. Because this loan is payable in 3 months in dollar terms. They have entered into a forward contract for 3 months at the rate of 49.15 per dollar. That is the rate at which the forward contract was entered into. But exchange rate per dollar on 1st February was 48.85. How will you recognize the profit or loss on forward contract in the books of Rao Limited? We will discuss that, but first understand this forward contract also, because there is numbers and example in front of us, we can understand this. See, this company has to pay $1 lakh to somebody outside India on, let us say, February, March and April. Say end of April they have to pay. After 3 months, whatever it is. After 3 months they have to pay $1 lakh. When they have actually entered into this transaction of purchasing this plant and simultaneously incurring a liability of $1 lakh, the dollar rupee exchange rate was 48.85. If, for example, Rao Limited thinks that rupee can appreciate, and if, let us say, Rao Limited thinks that maybe after the 3 months the dollar could be 47 rupees only instead of 48.85, would it enter into forward exchange contract? Why should it? Because if that happens, if at all, it is only imagination and estimation. Now we don't know about future. But if the Rao Limited's feeling is that rupee might appreciate and dollar might depreciate along with, because of that $1 might come down from 48.85 to 47 rupees. In that case, there would be a gain of 1.85 rupees per dollar. That means 1.85 lakhs rupees will be there as a gain. But anybody will not estimate this gain and be happy about it. If that happens, anyway, it is good now. But what if the dollar becomes 50 rupees after 3 months? Then that is a big danger. Then the liability is going to be increased by 1.15 lakhs. So that will be a loss, too much loss to incur. If the dollar goes up to 50 rupees or maybe beyond that, we don't know. We don't know. The point is we don't know. Rao Limited doesn't know. Nobody in the world knows how this exchange rate will change. So what is the point of hedging is this. Okay, Baba, let us stop the loss. We don't know how much loss we might incur or we might not incur. That is a different story. But At least let us fix our loss. Let us not wait for the market to decide and incur infinite losses. What if it becomes 60 rupees? It's a huge loss. Almost 11.15 lakhs rupees loss will be there. So there is no limit for that loss. Market can go anywhere. So the problem is, if we leave it like that, the possible exchange rate losses could be too heavy. Could be. Conservatively, we have to think about losses. Dollar will come back to 20 rupees. Our WhatsApp messages told us that 1947 dollar rupee was equal. Again, it is going to come back to 1 rupee per dollar. All those nonsensical lies. If we believe, Rao Limited believes, then they will be stupids actually. That is not going to happen. I mean, that much gain may not be there. So generally speaking, any person or any company will be conservative in limiting their losses rather than imagining or being happy about future possible gains, which may happen or which may not happen. So what they will try to do is they enter into a forward exchange contract to fix their liability at least, so that it is not going infinitely. The dollar may become 50 rupees also, 55 rupees also, 52 rupees also, 49 rupees also, anything it could become, 60 rupees also. The losses could be unlimited if we don't enter into forward exchange contract. So this company has intelligently entered into a forward exchange contract and fixed its liability at the rate of 49.15 rupees per dollar. So what it would do actually, I'm talking about the transaction. This has nothing to do with accounting. We need to understand these contracts also in order to understand accounting in a better manner. So what happened here? They have fixed their liability of each dollar at 49.15 rupees. In other words, now they have entered into a contract with somebody else. We don't need the other party. That Rao Limited will buy dollars. What they will buy? Dollars. On what date? On, let us say, 30th April 2016 at the rate of 49.15 rupees per dollar. Already transaction or contract is entered into. Settlement will not happen now. That is why it is a forward contract. Settlement will happen on 30th April 2016. So when it has already entered into a transaction of forward exchange contract to which has agreed to buy 49.15 rupees rate per dollar, what does it mean? When that date really comes, 30th April, it will come, time will not stop. What Rao Limited will do? It will definitely have to buy $1 lakh at 49.15 rupees per dollar, no doubt about it. In other words, 49 lakhs 15,000 rupees it has to pay. For what? For buying these dollars from somebody. Who is that somebody? We don't need. That is the guy who sold this forward exchange contract to Rao Limited. It will pay 49.15 lakhs for sure. So, on the date of transaction, they were supposed to actually pay 48.85 lakhs only. But now, on the date when the forward contract might be settled, 49.15 lakhs they have to pay. How much is the difference here? 49 lakhs 15,000 minus 48 lakhs 85,000. The difference is what? 30,000. Is this not a loss? Yes, it is a loss. But is it something unexpected loss? No. This loss is known to Rao Limited on 1st February itself, because they are already happy. They are happy to take this loss rather than leaving the losses to market. That is forward exchange contract, where the company has agreed to take a loss of 30,000 rupees because it is okay with that. But accounting of this 30,000 is different story. 30,000 is a loss, that is clear. You can call that a premium. Forward exchange contract premium that is paid by Rao Limited, that is 30,000 rupees. This has to be amortized over the period of contract. That means each month, because it is a 3 months contract, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 has to be charged to P&L account. But the point is not that. When we are looking at these dates, 1st February they have entered into contract. Of course, when the books of Rao Limited are getting closed, we don't know. Naturally, we have to assume on 31st March 2016, when the books of accounts of Rao Limited are getting closed on 31st March 2016, how many such amortizations would have happened? 2 of them would have happened. That means 20,000 should be charged to the profit and loss account at the end of financial year 2015-16. So what happens to the remaining 10,000? That will be also charged to P&L account, but that happens in the next year, that is 2016-17. That's all. That is how the profit or loss on forward contract will be recognized in the books of Rao Limited. So 20,000 in this year, 10,000 in next year. Why 20,000? Because out of the 3 installments or 3 amortization periods, 2 months are falling in the current year, 1 month is falling in the next year. That's it. But now, for understanding purposes, accounting is done. When we talk about reality, anything might happen. Actual dollar rupee exchange rate on 30th April 2016 could be how much? That could be anything. How much Rao Limited has paid for these dollars, that is fixed. That is 49.15, there ends the matter. It will buy $1 lakh from that person, whoever has sold them the forward exchange contract. This $1 lakh it will give it to its supplier. Its job is over because it wanted to hedge its risk, which it has done. It wanted to fix its risk, which it has done. It has fixed its loss to 30,000. No more loss is going to be incurred. So if at all, just for imagination purposes, imagine if the actual dollar rate on 30th April 2016 was 50 rupees per dollar. Then what Rao Limited has gained here? Of course, you cannot account for all that. You cannot account for imaginary gains and all. Only for understanding purposes, we are looking at this. Accounting is done. Because 30,000 is a loss. That is recognized. Out of that 20,000 in 15-16, 10,000 in 16-17. There ends the matter. Accounting is over. Now we are looking at forward exchange contract and its meaning and how it works. What is the importance or what is the usefulness of that contract? Imagine if this actual rate on the date was 50 rupees per dollar. Then what happened? Rao Limited has easily saved 85,000 rupees. Not like real, but definitely that is an opportunity gain. Why? Because if at all it really had to buy dollars on that date, because it had to pay its supplier, it had to buy at 50 rupees, but it has already fixed its liability at 49.15 rupees per dollar. Happily it purchased at only 49 lakhs 15,000 rupees. If at all it had to purchase on that date of settlement, actually it would have to buy the dollars at 50 rupees per dollar. That means 50 lakhs rupees it would have to shred. Instead of 50 lakhs, now it is shredding only 49 lakhs 15,000. That means there was a saving for Rao Limited of 85,000. And like this saving could be unlimited. What if the dollar is 60 rupees? What if the dollar is 100 rupees? Anything could happen. But anything more than 49.15 if the dollar is, that is already a definite better gain for Rao Limited. No doubt about it. From a realistic point of view. But what if the dollar has actually moved down to 47 only? What if? Then definitely Rao Limited is not in a good position. However, for this purpose, it can have another type of what you call derivative instruments where it will have an option. This is not an option, this is only a forward exchange contract. If it had an option of cancelling that contract, then how would that be? Then it would simply cancel this contract and it will really buy the dollars from the market at 47 rupees only. Of course, for cancelling this contract, there might be some penalty or some fees that it will pay. But in spite of that, still it has saved 2,15,000 rupees if the dollar went down to 47 rupees. Like this, the derivative instruments will work sometimes to hedge the risk or sometimes to even gain from them according to the fluctuations that happen in the market. But once again, as far as accounting standard 11 is concerned, we are not talking about foreign currency options or we are not even talking about swaps. So many other derivative instruments are there, foreign currency swaps, etc. Those all the things will be mostly dealt with in SFM, strategic financial management, in final level. But here the objective is only to just identify accounting aspects of it, which is very simple. Whatever the loss that the Rao Limited was ready to take, then you may say why it should take. That is what is like, you think it's like an insurance. Why anybody should take insurance? Because the prediction is that something might go wrong. If it goes wrong, at least we should get some compensation. Something should be there. Like that, if dollar is going to become strengthened further and further, then it is dangerous for Rao Limited because rupee is going to become weaker. Then it might have to shed more rupees. So rather than leaving it to the market, rather than keeping it open-ended, what Rao Limited or anybody like that can do is they can fix their loss. Simply what Rao Limited has done for understanding purposes is they have fixed their loss at 30,000. They cannot incur any loss more than 30,000. Whatever may happen in the market, they don't care. Or they missed the opportunity of a gain of too much 1.85 lakhs or something if the dollar came down to 47. That's okay, no problem, because their profit purpose is not the case here. That is why the accounting standard 11 also very clearly told, is this forward contract entered for speculative purposes or is it entered for hedging the risk? In this case, it is entered for hedging the risk. How do we know that? Because this purpose of this foreign currency forward contract itself is to settle a real liability. There is a real liability of 1 lakh. So we cannot say this the intention of Rao Limited is to make money out of foreign currency fluctuations. No, that is not the intention. Intention is to limit the losses because of foreign currency fluctuations, to fix the premium or to fix the losses maximum that they can incur because of foreign currency fluctuations, which they have done. That is why the premium or discount has to be recognized and amortized over the period of contract period, which is in this case 3 months. But unfortunately, out of these 3 months, 2 months was falling in the current financial year, 1 month is falling in the next financial year. So naturally, 2 months related amortization should be recognized in the P&L account of current year, which is 20,000. 10,000, which is related to the third month, will have to be charged to the P&L account of next year. That's the essence of forward exchange contracts, particularly when you look at non-speculative forward exchange contracts. Now look at another question. This is a little different one compared with the earlier one. Mr. A bought a forward exchange contract for 3 months of $1 lakh on 1st December at $1 is 47.1. Okay, he bought a forward exchange contract, that's all. Looks like he doesn't have any other liability or something. Just like that he bought. Then he purchased it forward exchange contract at 47.1 when the exchange rate in real life outside world was 47.02. On 31st December when he closed his books, the exchange rate was 47.15. On 31st January he decided to sell the contract at 47.18 per dollar. Show how the profits from the contract will be recognized in the books. So first thing first we have to identify from the details is Mr. A has entered into this forward exchange contract for speculative purposes. What he did, he purchased and sold the forward exchange contract. He did not enter into this contract to safeguard his position like here. Here he has entered into forward contract for making some profit out of it, which he did. He made some profit. But the question is how these profits will be recognized in the books of accounts. We don't have to create anything. Already everything is given in the accounting standard 11. What it says? First point, premium or discount on the entering of forward exchange contract should not be recognized. So let us take 1 lakh dollars multiplied with this, how much? 47.10 is the rate at which he purchased this contract, whereas in the outside market it was 47.02 only real dollar. So 47.02 is called as spot rate. So this is a spot rate. 47.02 is a spot rate, and this 47.10 is called as forward rate. So when the spot rate was 47.02, he purchased the contract for 47.10. So that means how much is there? 0.08 difference is there. That means 8,000 rupees difference is there. This is all actually useless. Why? According to accounting standard 11, we should not recognize this at all. It should be ignored. Whatever the difference is there, whatever the premium is there, that should be basically ignored. So there is no point of looking at it at all. But when the year end has come, that is when he closed the books on 31st December, it's clearly given here, and on that date the exchange rate was 47.15. So here accounting standard 11 clearly used a word mark to market. Mark to market means we need to bring the value of this asset or investment. For him actually it is just an investment because it is for speculative purposes. That should be brought to the market price. So he purchased the dollars at 47.1 and at the end of the year each dollar was 47.15. So how much is gain here for him? 0.05 into 1 lakh. So naturally this 5,000 rupees should be recognized as profit. This is profit. Is it realized profit? No sir, it is unrealized profit, but still it has to be recognized according to accounting standard 11 because it said at the each reporting period, intermittent reporting period, this forward exchange contract which was purchased or sold for speculative purposes has to be marked to the market. Marked to the market itself means this difference between original purchase price and market price on the date of closure of balance sheet has to be recognized either as profit or loss. In this case it is profit. Why? Because he bought it at 47.10 but market price was 47.15 on the date of closure of balance sheet. But this 47.02 spot rate is useless. That is not something that we are going to recognize at all. That will be ignored. On the date of balance sheet 47.15 is relevant. So this difference of 0.05 rupees per dollar which comes to 5,000 rupees will be recognized as credit side of the P&L account on 31st December 2000 whatever it is. Then on 31st January he decided to sell the contract at 47.18 per dollar. Already he has decided to sell the contract. So just for understanding purposes, so let us call this as forward contract investment, just for the namesake, forward contract as an investment, let us say. So forward contract investment account debtor, when he originally purchased, how much he would have been entered into this contract for? That is $1 lakh at the rate of 47.10. But he would not have had any cash outflow there. So there is no need of any entry on the date of purchase of the contract. It is only just signature that he has made on that date. But on the date when the books of accounts are closed, since accounting standard 11 said it has to be marked to the market, we need to recognize that as a profit. So particularly this 5,000 rupees has to be recognized as a profit on 31st December. But point is, when he has actually sold this contract at 47.18 rupees per dollar, he has just sold that contract. How much profit he has made? When he purchased it for 47.1 and he sold it for 47.18. That means 8,000 profit he has made, but in that 5,000 profit is already recognized. So what has to be the remaining profit to be recognized? 3,000 rupees has to be recognized as profit in 2000, whatever the next year, on 31st January when he actually sold the contract. So that is how the profits from the contract will be recognized in the books. So as far as AS 11 is concerned, in relation to speculative forward exchange contracts, it tells two things. One, the initial premium or discount has to be ignored, that we did. Second thing what it says also is any difference in the price, which is nothing but marking to the market, at the date of financial preparation, at the date of preparation of financial statements, the forward contracts have to be marked to the market. In other words, marking to the market means gain or loss, unrealized gain or loss has to be recognized on the date of balance sheet. And when actually the contract is sold, remaining profit or loss has to be recognized also in that period. So that is the treatment when the forward contract is for speculative purposes. Because the standard said mark to market, we can recognize 5,000 rupees on 31st December also. On the other side, alternatively, even we can even say, because there is no actual investment, because there is no real asset that is there coming, because it is after all a signature that he has entered. Forward contract means what? He bought a forward contract means what? He just entered into an agreement, that's all. He did not buy dollars. He bought a contract, that's all. So, he has committed himself that he will buy $1 lakh at the rate of 47.1 in some future date. What date is also that we don't know. That is why there is no possibility of recognizing this 5,000 rupees through P&L account without any other debit attached to that. There is no particular investment that is there. So on the other side, alternatively, though the standard has told mark to market and all, that can be done when there is an investment already in the books of accounts. If there is no investment actually in the books of accounts, what is there to mark to market? So what can be done in such situations like this? Entire 8,000 can be recognized as profit when really the profit has been made, which was made on 31st of January. So that is also a better and appropriate treatment in this case. But as per standard, the investments have to be marked to the market on the date of reporting the financials. It's okay. It is easy to say mark to market. Credit P&L, fine, 5,000, okay. Debit where? There is nothing to debit. So that is the problem on 31st December. So accounting wise it will be difficult. It is easy to write a statement. We can write 5,000 should be recognized in the P&L account as profit on 31st December because AS 11 says that the forward contracts have to be marked to market on the date of each reporting of financial statements. Easy to say, but practically entry what? That will be difficult because there is no particular debit. If at all there is an investment which is there, really some amount which is there, which can be there actually. In this case we don't know. He said that he just bought a forward contract means he bought means what is it? What is the actual entry for that transaction? He didn't do anything. No money involved in that. He just signed one paper. That is called a forward contract. That itself will not bring in any transaction and we can say money related measurement of that contract. So in this case it might not be easier, though the standard said to mark to market. Practically in this case better treatment will be to just treat it as a profit when actually that particular contract is sold. But in reality it can happen like this. When you just sign a paper, that to $1 lakh you want to buy after a future date, you signed a paper and after some time if you are gayab, if you are just disappearing, what the other party will do? That's called counterparty risk. So it will not be that easy just to sign a paper and sleep on that. No? So some amount should be paid. There will be some investment in the books of accounts also in reality. In that case, definitely that investment account can be debited by 5,000 and credit can be given to the P&L account on 31st December because we don't have such situation here. Though the standard suggested to mark to market, to do the mark to market process, we could not do that. With accounting statements, we can just write, no problem. 5,000 will be recognized as profit on 31st December 31st December. We can write that. But practically it is not possible in this scenario since there is no cash outlay and there is no investment that is coming in actually when the contract was bought by Mr. A. Contract bought does not mean he paid money already to buy that $1 lakh. If that is the case, he would have bought spot only, no? Why should he buy forward contract? If he wanted $1 lakh, he didn't want $1 lakh, he wanted to make money out of changes in the exchange rates between dollar and rupee. Because of that intention of speculation, he bought a forward contract, which is nothing but a piece of paper, where he signed and agreed that he will buy 1 lakh US dollars at 47.1 rupees at some future date. But before even coming to that level, he has sold that contract for 47.18, by which he made a 8,000 rupees profit that can be recognized as profit on 31st January. That is the better appropriate solution in this particular case. Though it is not 100% correct under AS11, that is a practical solution for that case. Next, similar questions were asked in exams also. A Limited purchased fixed assets costing 3,000 lakhs rupees. Always read the currency symbol carefully. 3,000 lakhs rupees on 1/1/2016, and same was fully financed by a foreign currency loan US dollars payable in 3 annual equal installments. Exchange rate was like this: 40 rupees and 42.5 rupees on 1/1/2016 and 31st December 2016 respectively. First installment was paid on 31st December 2016. Entire difference in foreign exchange has been capitalized. Same thing as we discussed earlier also, one of the questions. Same question almost. Right? This one, I think, yeah. Opportunity Limited purchased equipment costing, same thing. So same answer can be given here also for question number 5. See, first of all, we have to convert this 3,000 lakhs into dollars. So if 3,000 lakhs is rupees, lakhs it is given already. So how much was dollar rate that day? 40 rupees per dollar. That means 75 lakhs. 75 lakhs dollars. 3,000 lakhs rupees means 75 lakhs dollars. The 75 lakhs dollars. On that, how much is the exchange difference? 2.5 per dollar, because from 40 it became 42.5, which means 2.5 is the exchange difference. So 75 into 2.5, 187.5 lakhs is the exchange difference, definitely, from the date of transaction and the date of reporting of the balance sheet. Fixed assets is there, that is okay. That will be shown at whatever the price that was purchased, 3,000 lakhs. But what about the finance loan, which is a long-term item, definitely, because it is payable in 3 equal annual installments. So what could be the options that are there for these people? 3 options can be there. One, this 187.5 lakhs. Definitely, all the 3 options, credit is common. Credit is to given to loan. 187.5 lakhs has to be credited rupees. 187.5 lakhs has to be credited to the loan account. So now the loan will not be 3,000 lakhs, it will be 3,187.5 lakhs. That is okay. Credit is same. Loan account has to be credited. It has to be increased by that amount. Since it is a monetary item, it has to be reported at the balance sheet date at closing rate. So loan has to be reported at balance sheet date at 3,187.5 lakhs rupees. That is clear. The question is about debit. Debit where? We know 3 options. First option, debit to fixed assets, which has been given already. The difference in foreign exchange has been capitalized. So in that case, what entry you can pass? Fixed assets account at R to loan account, 187.5. Because just to show alternatives also that we know, you can even say this 187.5 lakhs can be debited to the P&L account. That possibility is always there. Any monetary item, difference in foreign exchange can be always charged to P&L account also. So in that case, the entry finally could be P&L account at R2 loan account, if that is the option that is chosen. Or alternatively, the organizations can even choose FCMI TD account to be debited. So in that case, FCMI TD account will be debited, loan account will be credited. FCMI TD account, whatever the balance of 187.5 lakhs is there, that will be amortized over 3 years in future. Of course, this FCMI TD will not be remaining constant also, it will keep on changing year after year. Accordingly, for the remaining period of years, it will be amortized. As of now, because of this 187.5 lakhs being already a loss that is recognized, that will be amortized over a period of 3 years. Since 1 year has already passed, we can even amortize 1 installment of FCMI TD. Of course, that recognition happens through P&L account only. Amortization means through P&L account only. The question is only about what? How it is routed through P&L account. 3 possibilities have 3 different, you can say, impacts. 187.5 lakhs directly debited to P&L. Entire amount is charged in 1 year. If it is added to fixed asset, then also it is charged to P&L. But in the what form? In the form of depreciation, because fixed asset value increased now. That will result in additional more depreciation naturally. Then also finally there will be some impact on the P&L each year when the asset is existing. On the other side, FCMITD also will have to be charged to P&L because it has to be amortized also over the period of life of that loan or liability. That is why ultimately P&L will have to be debited because it's a loss. The question is about, are we debiting it in one shot, or are we debiting it in installments, or are we debiting it through amortization during the loan period. So 3 different points are there, different possibilities are there, but ultimate result is this 187.5 lakhs is the loss that was resulted from exchange rate fluctuation. So AS 11 gives treatment for such kinds of losses, and not necessarily always losses. Since the examples are like this, we are looking at losses most of the times. It could be gains also. Gains also. If it is a gain, then that can be deducted from fixed assets. It can be credited to P&L, or it can be credited to FCMITD account. So alternates are always possible. When we say loss, that is one possibility. That automatically means gain is also possible. That is about other situation. Similar question once again, this was also past exam question. BK Limited purchased fixed assets costing 5,000 lakhs rupees, once again, rupees that is, on 1/4/2012, payable in foreign currency on 5/4/2013. 5/4/2013, 1 year only, we cannot say FCMITD and all, that will be too much. But yes, capitalization option will be there if there is any fluctuation. Exchange rate of $1 was 50 rupees and 54.98 rupees as on 1st April 2012 and 31st March 2013 respectively. The company also obtained a soft loan of $1 lakh. This is a different thing than this. Two different transactions. First transaction is purchase of fixed assets, which is payable at a later date. Second transaction is a loan, which is different. $1 lakh on 1/4/2012, payable in 3 annual equal installments. So first installment was due on 1/5/2013. You are required to state how these transactions would be accounted for in the books of accounts ending 31st March 2013. So here there are two transactions. Naturally, there should be two treatments. So let us take first transaction, that is fixed assets. Preferably when we are looking at fixed assets, along with that there is a loan also that is coming with that, because it is a payable. If not loan, you can call it a payable. So entries would be what? Fixed assets account at R, 5,000 lakhs rupees to payable 5,000 lakhs rupees on 1/4/2012. So first thing first, if it is 5,000 lakhs rupees, how much will it be in dollars? So it should be how much in dollars naturally? It should be 100 lakh dollars. 100 lakh dollars. That is the payable towards the purchase of fixed assets. When there is 100 lakh dollars on which 0.98 rupees per dollar is a loss. Once again, here also loss, because rupee has still depreciated here also. That means what? 98 lakhs rupees. 98 lakhs rupees this is. 100 lakhs was dollars. Each dollar 0.98 rupees means 98 lakhs rupees will have to be capitalized. They can be added to the cost of fixed assets. That is one possible treatment. Another possible treatment there is, this 98 lakhs rupees can be charged off to P&L also, no problem. Since that payable is a monetary item, difference in exchange rates can be charged to P&L account. But for the first option, FCMITD and all will not be correct. Why? Because it's a very not a very long-term loan. It just exceeded 1 year by 4 or 5 days. So we cannot call it FCMITD eligible and all. So two possibilities we can write for first transaction. One possibility is debiting P&L. Another possibility is debiting fixed assets. Both of them by 98 lakhs rupees. Then second transaction, loan. This is $1 lakh already. So 1 lakh dollars means 1 lakh into 0.98 rupees. That means 98,000 rupees. This is 1000. This is rupees 98,000. This is 98 lakhs. This is. Each of them has to be very clear. Here 98,000 rupees is there, which is a loss naturally from the same monetary item of a soft loan, small loan, whatever. But the point once again here is how to treat it. Loan has to be increased by 98,000, no doubt. Credit is no doubt. Debit is the question. Debit once again has two choices. One choice is FCMI TD account. Another choice is naturally P&L account. Any of them can be chosen by the organization. So this 98,000 can be debited to P&L account also, or this 98,000 can be debited to FCMI TD account, which will be amortized over a period of 3 years also. That is how the answer for this question has to be written. And you have to write these descriptions very clearly by referring to the accounting standard 11. That is another past examination question, question number 6. More or less similar questions are there. Sunshine Company Limited imported raw materials worth US $9,000 rupees, on 25th February 2011 when the exchange rate was 44 rupees per dollar. The transaction was recorded in the books at the above mentioned date, which is correct. The payment for the transaction was made on 10th April 2011. Payment was made on 10th April when the exchange rate was 48 rupees per dollar. At the end, the year end, that is 31st March 2011, the rate of exchange was 49 rupees per dollar. Okay, different rates are given, 3 dates. One is transaction date, on which date 44 rupees per dollar. One is say reporting date, 31st March, 49 rupees per dollar. Settlement date, on which date the dollar was 48 rupees per dollar. The chief accountant of the company passed an entry on 31st March 2011 adjusting the cost of raw materials consumed for the difference between 48 and 44 rupees per US dollar. First of all, on 31st March, how can he pass an entry for 48 rupees? Because 48 rupees is on 10th April. That is first mistake. Second thing is, he cannot adjust like that to the raw materials. That is never what accounting standard 11 told. So what he did is, there is a loss. Definitely yes. 9,000 into total loss. Real loss is how much? Real loss is 4 rupees per dollar. So 36,000 rupees loss is there when the transaction is entered into and a transaction is settled. So when the transaction entered into transaction date, then there is reporting date, then there is settlement date. On the transaction date, the dollar was 44 rupees. On the reporting date, the dollar was 49 rupees. And on the settlement date, dollar was 48 rupees. Different rates will be there. Naturally, they are fluctuating. The question is, this accountant has taken directly transaction date and settlement date. Difference is 4 rupees. 4 into 9,000. So 36,000 loss. What he did? That loss has been debited to raw materials consumed. So he has added to the cost of purchases or cost of raw materials consumed, which is absolutely wrong. It should not be treated as raw material consumed. Raw material consumed is a kind of trading account item. It is not a P&L item. Raw material consumed has to be separately shown for all the things which it has costs related to the purchase of raw materials. Exchange rate fluctuations, nobody said in accounting standard 11 that should be added to the cost of raw materials. Fixed assets, it can be added by a choice, but no, not to cost of raw materials. So whatever the accountant has done is inappropriate. What ideally he should have done will be different. So ideally what happens, let us understand, because there is a chance of passing entries on different dates also. What would happen on different dates? Let us just try to understand the transaction. So on the date of transaction, what entry he will pass? So he should pass purchases account at R2, say payables account, creditors account, payables account. How much will be that? That was recorded that is correct. Transaction was recorded in the books about the above mentioned rate. 44 rupees into 9,000. That means 3,96,000 rupees should be entered on that date of transaction. What accounting standard 11 tells is, this is okay. For anything, this is the same. on the date of transaction, which in this case was 25th February 2011. So 25 2, let us say. Then on 31st March, he has to pass an entry for the exchange difference between the transaction date and reporting date. So there is a loss actually. So exchange difference account, that are 5 rupees loss is there per dollar. So 9,000 into 5 means 45,000 rupees. 2 payables has to be increased by that. So 45,000 rupees. That entry should be passed, and naturally P&L account at R2, exchange difference account or exchange loss account, 45,000 rupees should be passed on reporting date, which is 31st March. Then at the time of settlement it is different. At the time of settlement, which is the date 10th April 2011. So 10th April, let us say, date of settlement. On the date of settlement, how much will actually pay to the creditors or payables? That you have to say. Only to bank, let us first understand how much he has to pay. 48 rupees per dollar, like that $9,000. So definitely he has to pay in rupee terms 4,32,000 rupees only. He is not going to pay anything more than that or less than that. 9,000 into 48 rupees. To bank is clear for 4,32,000. But the question is, are our payables that much? In the books are more. Look at that. Originally we have created the payables 3,96,000. Then we have created the payables 45,000. That means 4,41,000 is our payables. So can that be? No. That is why payables has to be reduced now. How can payables be reduced? So let us say this payables account, debtor, this one 4,32,000 paid now to through bank, that is 4,32,000. But still there is a credit of 4,41,000 in the payables, which means further there should be a debit to payables, which unnecessarily is more. Though we paid only 4,32,000, there was a debit of 4,41,000. That means there is a additional debit credit of 9,000 in payables. So that has to be debited now. What is this debit? This is exchange difference. In this case it is a gain, 9,000 rupees gain, and naturally what will be the transfer entry here for that? Exchange difference account at R2, P&L account ultimately will be 9,000 rupees profit here, that is from exchange rate differences, which will be recognized in the year next year, that is 2011-12, not in the year 2010-11. But what the accountant has done? Effective loss 45,000 minus 9,000, 36,000 he has recognized, that too not as a loss. He has added it to raw material consumed, which is absolutely wrong. Actually the loss of 45,000 has to be recognized on 31st March 2011, and on the 10th of April when the settlement actually happens, a gain of 9,000 rupees has to be recognized, and that gain also should be transferred to P&L. Loss which is recognized on 31st March also should be transferred to P&L account. This is how transactions happen in foreign exchange transactions or foreign currency transactions according to Accounting Standard 11. Then next question, PowerTrack Limited purchased a plant for $50,000 rupees on 31st October 2016, payable after 6 months. The company entered into a forward contract for 6 months at the rate of 64.25 per dollar, and on that date, which is 31st October 2016, exchange rate was 61.5. So this is not a speculative transaction because it already has a real obligation of 50,000 rupees towards what the plant it has purchased. So what is the difference between the spot rate and future forward rate? 64.25 minus 61.5 per dollar, 2.75 rupees per dollar, multiplied with how many dollars? $50,000. That means how much is the premium or loss here, which the company has fixed. This much definitely it has made itself ready to incur this much loss. But the point is how to recognize that loss. You are required to calculate the amount of profit or loss on forward contract, that we already did 137,500, And how much loss should be recognized in the books of accounts for the year ended 31st March 2017. So when they have entered into the contract 31st October 2016, and how many months are falling in this, how many months are falling in next year, that we should find out. So November, December, January, February, March. 5 months are falling in the current year, 1 month is falling in the next year. So how much should be recognized in this year, which is 2016-17, is out of 6 months, 5 months has to be recognized. So divided by 6 into 5, that comes to approximately 1,14,583 rupees has to be debited to the P&L account as loss when this contract has been entered into, and there is a difference between the exchange rate on the date on which the contract is entered into and the reporting date. So 114,583 has to be definitely charged to the P&L account, recognized as loss in the books of Power Track Limited on 31st March 2017. But what happens to the remaining, or that whatever remaining amount is there, that also you can write 22,917 has to be recognized as loss in the next year. That's it. That is the forward exchange contracts. Loss to be recognized and amortized over the period of life of the contract. Then another question, a similar one. AXE Limited purchased fixed assets costing $5 lakhs on 1st January 2018 from an American company, M&M Limited. Amount was payable after 6 months. The company entered into a forward contract on 1st January same 2018 for 5 months at the rate of 62.5 per dollar. The exchange rate per dollar was as follows. On 1st January 2018, 60.75 per dollar. On 31st March 2018, 63 rupees per dollar. We are required to state how the profit or loss on forward contract will be recognized in the books of AXE Limited for the year ended 17-18 as per the provisions of AS 11. But look at this. This contract is entered only for 5 months, though the amount is payable after 6 months. So we don't care about when the amount is payable. What matters to us is life of the contract. That is for 5 months only. So the point here is it a speculative or non-speculative? It is definitely not a speculative because it has purchased and it is definitely having a liability to be paid, though there is a difference between the liability period of 6 months and contract being entered into only for 5 months. We can consider it as a non-speculative transaction. Of course, if we consider it as speculative transaction, then the story is different. If we consider it as non-speculative transaction, then simply whatever the difference between spot rate and forward rate, that has to be recognized, amortized over the period of life of the contract. That's all. So what was the spot rate on 1st January 2018? 60.75. Forward rate was 62.5. So 62.5 minus 60.75, whatever it is, multiplied with $5 lakhs will be in rupees, whatever is the total loss that this forward contract is going to bring to this company. So 62.5 minus 60.75, that is 1.75 into $5 lakhs, that comes to 8,75,000 rupees. That has to be spread over a period of 5 months. That means monthly how much will that be? 1,75,000 rupees. Like that, how many months have fallen in this year? That we have to look at. So 3 months only, right? 1st January they have entered into contract. So January, February, March. So 3 months will be recognized as loss. So 1,75,000 into 3, 5,25,000 is the loss that should be recognized at the end of 31st March 2018. That's it. That is when the contract is not a speculative contract. If it is a speculative contract, if at all, we consider it as speculative forward contract, which we should not, need not, because the liability underlying is very clearly there. Even just for imagination and understanding purposes, if it is a speculative contract, then there will be a gain actually, because the contract was purchased at 62.5 and on 31st March 2018 the market value was 63. That means there is a 0.5 rupees per dollar gain. That means 2,50,000 rupees gain was there, mark to market gain, that will be recognized on 31st March. Of course, we don't know when this is settled actually, so we cannot understand how that actual gain or loss will be treated later when the forward contract is actually settled. That will come later. But as far as speculative transaction is concerned, initial loss should not be recognized. Mark to market loss only should be recognized. But that doesn't make sense in this case. That is why we consider this as non-speculative transaction and recognize the loss of 1,75,000 per month multiplied with 3 months, that is 5,25,000 in the year 2017-18. That's it. Next. Question number 10. Goods purchased on 1/1/2017 for $15,000 rupees at the rate of 75. Exchange rate on 31st March 2017 was 74. Date of actual payment, which is 7/7/2017, was 73. Required to ascertain the loss or gain for the financial year 16-17 and 17-18. Also give their treatment as per AS 11. Already we discussed about these entries, what have to be passed. Same entries have to be passed. First, on the date of transaction, that is 1/1/2017, what should be the entry that is passed? 15,000 into 75. 11,25,000 rupees entry should be passed, which is nothing but purchases account at R2, creditors account. 11,25,000 rupees on 1/1/2017. On 31st March 2017, there is a gain of 1 rupee per dollar. Right? That means creditors has to be reduced by 15,000 rupees. In that case, creditors account at R 15,000 to exchange difference account or exchange gain account 15,000. Then that exchange difference or exchange gain account has to be created to P&L account. So exchange difference account at R2, P&L account will be another entry on 31st March 2017. That is a gain of 15,000 at the end of the year 31st March 2017. But when the settlement actually happened, there is a further gain of 1 more rupee. So actually creditors will be paid how much? They will be paid only 73 rupees per dollar. So 15,000 into 73 means they will be paid only 10,95,000 rupees. However, already creditors in our books of accounts, originally which we recorded at 75 rupees, later we have reduced 15,000 from them. They are shown at 11,10,000 rupees. Now we have to further reduce another 15,000 from them and pay them only 10,95,000 rupees, which is 15,000 into 73. What should be the entry? Simply speaking, creditors account at R2 bank 10,95,000 rupees, that is actual settlement. But because of this, there is further creditors to be decreased because already the creditors in our books of accounts are more. So creditors account at R 15,000 to exchange difference once again, which is a gain 15,000 will be recognized on the date of settlement, and that exchange difference 15,000 gain will be transferred to the P&L account at the end of that year. 15,000 rupees gain in the year 2016-17, 15,000 rupees gain in the year 2017-18 will be recognized in accordance with accounting standard 11. That's it. Then another scenario, trade receivables. Trade receivables, what type of item it is? First of all, it is monetary item. As on 31st March 2019, in the books of XYZ Limited include an amount receivable from Umesh 5 lakhs rupees, that is recorded at the prevailing exchange rate on the date of sales, that is at the rate of $1 is equal to 58.5. So 5 lakhs rupees means how many dollars it could be? Around $8,547 approximately. $8,547. Right? 5 lakhs rupees, 58.5. Now on 31st March, US dollar is 61.2. So 61.2 minus 58.5, dollar has appreciated once again. Rupee has depreciated. So 2.7 rupees is there. But for this particular case, you have to be careful. Is it a gain or loss? This is a gain because this is a trade receivable. It's not a payable. In other cases earlier, so far all the cases, most of them we are looking at payables. Creditors or loan, borrowings, payable for fixed asset. That is why when the dollar has appreciated, that was all loss. But here it will be gain. That's okay. But the amount of gain is same. 8547 into 2.7. What is the amount of gain? Approximately 23,077 rupees is going to be the gain that will be credited to the P&L account on 31st March 2019. That's it. So, what should be the accounting treatment is asking. Accounting treatment is that exchange difference, that is receivables of originally how much? 5 lakhs, that should be now increased by 23,077. So 5 lakhs plus 23,077 will be the new receivables which will be recorded at the 31st March 2019, because the rate on that date was 61.2 into 8547, that will be 523,077. So what should be the journal entry if at all you have to pass? Receivables account debtor, or even you can write the name also, Umesh account debtor 23,077 to exchange rate difference account or exchange gain account 23,077. Then exchange gain account debtor to P&L account 23,077. That's all. Since it is a monetary item, whatever the gain or loss is, that should be routed through profit and loss account as income or expenses. In this case, it is income, 23,077 rupees. Now, last question. ABC Limited is an Indian company which obtained a long-term loan from WWW Private Limited, which is a US company, amounting to 30 lakhs rupees. Recorded at US dollar 1 rupee is equal to 60. $1 is equal to 60 rupees. So 30 lakhs rupees means $50,000 at that rate. First point, we can just find that out and keep it aside. So what was the original liability? $50,000. That is fixed, $50,000. That is a long-term loan only. And taking the exchange rate prevailing at the date of transaction. Exchange rate on the balance sheet date was $1 is equal to 62 rupees. So dollar has once again appreciated because it is a loan. It is going to be a loss for us into 2 rupees. That means 1 lakh rupees is going to be a loss. The question is, loan account will definitely be credited with this 1 lakh. Debit will be given to what? Debit can be given to the P&L account also, and debit can be given to FCMITD account also, if this loan is a long-term loan, which was given in the question. It was given that it is a long-term loan. So definitely FCMITD account also can be debited by ABC Limited. So FCMITD account at R2 loan account is to be debited and credited with 1 lakh rupees. $50,000 multiplied with 2 rupees exchange rate difference per dollar, that is 1 lakh rupees is the transaction that should be passed at the end of the year 31st March 2018. That's it. Alternatively, this can be debited to P&L account also, that is their choice. It is not compulsory, it is a choice. Then second scenario, trade receivable includes amount receivable from Preksha Limited, 10 lakhs rupees once again, recorded at the prevailing exchange rate on the date of sales. This is rupees. And transaction recorded at 59 rupees per dollar. So first we have to convert that rupees into dollars. 10 lakhs rupees means at 59 rupees per dollar, how many dollars it would be? Approximately, it is going to be $16,949. Fine. Exchange rate on the balance sheet date was 62 rupees. Once again, be careful here. Here also dollar has appreciated, but it is not a loss. This is a gain here because it is trade receivable, not a payable. Earlier it was payable. So there was a loss. Here it is receivable. So there is a gain since the dollar has appreciated. So 3 rupees per dollar, there is a difference. 59 to 62 it has become from the date of transaction till the balance sheet date. So simply 16,949 into 3 rupees, approximately 50,800 and say 47 something it has come. Let us say 850 rupees approximately is the gain that has to be credited to the P&L account. Means debit should be given to trade receivables, credit should be given to exchange gain, then exchange gain account at our 2 P&L account, approximately 50,850 rupees. That is how they have to be treated in the books of this ABC Limited according to Accounting Standard 11. So these are the various possible questions and which were asked in the exams also. AS 11 is a very important type of numerical standard where questions can be asked like this and anytime such questions have to be answered applying the provisions of the accounting standard only, and not only just applying but also writing the provision, writing the point which we have actually applied. Actual possibilities are very limited, but only thing is presentation wise, according to the requirement of the question, you have to little bit elaborate. Accounting standard questions are like that. You have to little bit elaborate, not like write stories and all. Write the provision, write the facts, do some calculations, show them in little bit more detail. 10,000 into 2, 20,000. Also you should show. What is wrong in that? Show that. On paper you write that. So little bit more details than normal questions you have to show for making it look like something which is worth 5 marks. You know? So that care has to be taken in presentation. Little bit of smartness always helps in presentation. Over smartness always is dangerous. Don't fill the pages unnecessarily. For accounting standards question, half page is ideal for a regular student with normal handwriting. If somebody is writing big letters, maximum 3/4 page, not more than that. Half page is itself too good, that is enough. If the size of the paper we are talking about is like a A4 paper. So in the examination also you have to present these questions according to the size of the question and the number of marks which are allotted. Little bit of flexibility should be there, not like too much thinking and worrying about it. Ultimately what matters is, have you applied the correct provision or not? Have you applied the correct provision correctly or not? And have you concluded correctly or not? That will give you marks. And in addition to that, if you can give a good structured answer with a better presentation and showing better calculations, full marks will come. There will be no reason for the valuer to cut any marks if you have this structured answering technique followed for accounting standard questions. Same technique can be followed for AS 11 also. This is also another standard which is more numerical in nature in terms of examination questions. With that, we can conclude the discussion on AS 11 problems, and in another class we will discuss some other accounting standard. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Thank you very much.